Hello, everyone, and welcome to the quarterfinals of the StarCityGames.com Dallas Open weekend. Cedric Phillips, Todd Anderson here in the booth, Nick Miller down there in the feature match area as we prepare to watch John Philip Whetstone playing Mono Red Aggro against Nathan Fountain playing Esper Control. And you see the teammates there, Chad Harney and Aaron Barich. There at the top, that would be Grixis Delver against Infect, and then Joe Stempo on Red-Black Vengevine against Gregory Stiver playing Red-Black Hollow One. Players will be given the green light here in just a moment, and we will be underway. As John Philip Whetstone, someone who's certainly making his climb up the SCG Tour leaderboard here, going to be doing with Mono Red Aggro here this weekend. Another top 8 on his resume. He's going to start things off with a Gia 2 Lava Runner.
Yeah, this lower to the ground Wizards Lightning version of Mono Red Aggro is something that I have very much liked. One drops being key against control decks because they allow you to flood the board with cheap creatures so you overwhelm the cheap removal from them and put them on the back foot very early.
For Nathan Fountain, you'll notice that he's not shuffling very many cards back and forth in his hand. He had to take a mulligan to 4 to get things started. Not ideal against the old Mono Red Aggro deck.
It's definitely not, and unless he has a Fatal Push here, which I believe he does, he can buy himself a little time. But still, Fatal Pushing a Scrap Heap Scrounger is not exactly ideal.
Whetstone's going to play a Dragon Skull Summon Hill attack. There is the Fatal Push on the Scrap Heap Scrounger, at least an attempt to do so. See if John Philip Whetstone has anything here. He does not, so Fatal Push will resolve. A little bit of damage here from the Lava Runner. Follow-up is a Shock and a Lightning Strike. Hello.
Yeah, and this is before combat damage, so the Lava Runner is going to get an additional +1. So it's effectively going to deal him 6 damage down to 12.
Well, let's go back over to Nathan Fountain now, who, again, is on that mulligan of 4. He does have 3 lands, however. All of them are operating, as he's got all colors of the mana here with an Isolated Chapel as his 3rd land drop. We'll go back over to Whetstone.
Yeah, while you want to make sure you get in that extra damage with your burn spells, Whetstone really wanted to follow up creature in that spot just because it's important to make sure you continue putting pressure on the control deck, especially when they've mulliganed so low.
It'll be a Soul Scar Mage in the passing of the turn. We're going to head back over to John Philip Whetstone now. He'll draw a card. Looks like 3 cards in hand for our Mono Red player. The follow-up here is another copy of Gia 2 Lava Runner. Yeah,
and even though that card is weaker on average than your traditional super aggressive 1-drop, right now it's turbo-powered with 2 instant sorcerers in the graveyard, so it's a 2/2 haste for 1 mana, which is not a bad rate.
No, not a bad deal at all. Yeah, Nathan Fountain, he's in some serious trouble, but he was the trouble at the start of the game. At 10 at the moment, does have Vraska's Contempt at the ready. Looks like the Lava Runner is going to resolve. Here comes the attack. Vraska's Contempt is going to go after a Lava Runner here.
This is not that bad of news for Whetstone because if Nathan's down to 4 and he's using a Vraska's Contempt on a 1-drop creature, there's a chance that something like a follow-up Hazoret is just going to survive.
Yeah, that's kind of the concern. The hope right now is for Nathan Fountain is that Hazoret never shows up, but given the fact that John Philip Whetstone's not playing any lands, so it looks like he might be playing one this turn, that means you know that he's got spells in hand.
Yeah, he's definitely got something. It's possible he has like a 4-drop that he's going to play post-combat, and he's just kind of baiting Fountain. You saw him do like the pump fake, play the land first. He also just might have a few burn spells in hand.
Yeah.
Just trying to play around counter spells as best as possible.
A Mountain there from Whetstone, passed the turn back. We went over to Fountain. Fountain drew, didn't play land, so he simply passed the turn back over to Whetstone, who will play another copy of Gia 2 Lava Runner pre-combat. Of course, it will have haste.
Yeah, it looks pretty good here. Having to burn a Disallow on a 1-mana creature, having to play a Vraska's Contempt on a 1-mana creature. This is why you play these Mono Red Aggro decks, because your opponent has to spend more mana to deal with your threat than you spent to play it.
Those are the kind of exchanges that you love. Now for Whetstone, he is down to just 1 card in hand. Nathan Fountain really hoping to draw something that'll get him out of the situation. He does not. Picked up a copy of Essence Scatter, and he will concede the game. So John Philip Whetstone able to win game number 1 here over Nathan Fountain. Mono Red Aggro very quickly up a game there over Esper Control. And now we do go to the sideboard. You see Nathan digging into his deck box. He's looking at 4 Glintsleeve Siphoner, 2 Vizier of Many Faces, 2 Infernal Reckoning, 2 Negate, 2 Jace's Defeat, a Sorcerer's Spyglass, an Essence Extraction, and a Chromium the Mutable, which I've got a feeling is not coming in this matchup.
No, this lower to the ground Mono Red deck plays a lot differently than the Red-Black aggro deck we're used to seeing. And normally you would want to have a bunch of answers to the mid-range creatures, and you don't mind being a little slower. However, this Mono Red aggro deck is going to be super low to the ground. They're going to try to burn you out, and they're going to try to play a bunch of cheap creatures. So I think Essence Extraction is going to be a very good card here. Infernal Reckoning might be worthwhile just because it takes care of Boma Courier and Scrap Heap Scrounger, 2 cards that give your deck some headaches. But that's all I really like from Nathan Fontaine's side. The Sorcerer Spyglass might be okay as a means to stop Chandra Torch of Defiance, another card that's very good out of the mono red aggro side. And you have to assume that your opponent's not going to be bringing that many Abrade, since Torrential Gearhulk's the only real target.
For Abrade there in the sideboard for John Philip Whetstone, like you mentioned, don't imagine a lot of those be showing up. 3 Chandra's Defeat, 3 Insult Injury to beat those Bant Nexus players, 2 Cut Ribbons, 2 Aethersphere Harvester, and a Fight with Fire. Used to be a big deal back in the day with those Settle the Wreckages. Not as used nowadays. Might come in this matchup, though.
I don't think so. They have access to deck lists, so Whetstone knows that Fountain doesn't have something like Lear Dawnbringer, something that's very looming. Fight with Fire obviously great when kicked, but it's really hard to get to that unless your opponent is hitting you with things like Settle the Wreckage. I don't expect very much, if anything at all, to come in from Whetstone's side. He's content with all of his burn spells, just being able to go to the face, because that's damage that the Esper Control can't really control very well. They have to counter all these burn spells when they get really low on life. It's very similar to playing Burn in Modern. It comes to a point where you have to counter every single burn spell they play, and it's just too much to ask sometimes.
Yeah, it certainly can be.
If I'm Whetstone here, I don't think I board anything at all. You don't have to fight any big sweepers, so something like Aethersphere Harvester isn't going to really do what you want it to do. It's just another creature that requires having a second creature on the battlefield to use, so sometimes it can be dead. Insult Injury, they're not really preventing damage. Cut Ribbons doesn't kill anything. Defeat and Abrade are for other matchups, and Fight with Fire just, it only targets creatures unless you kick it.
Fair enough. Todd doesn't want to sideboard anything. We'll see if John Phillip wants to or not, as these players do get ready here for game number 2. We'll very quickly talk about, for the final time today, the StarCityGames.com weekly sale, where you can save up to 20% off all English foils, including Day of Judgment and Lotus Bloom. This sale will end Monday at 10:59 a.m. East Coast time, but we'll have a new sale up for you at 11 a.m. East Coast time. So make sure you do go to and bookmark go.starcitygames.com/weekly sale so you can keep up with all of our weekly sales every single week on StarCityGames.com. As we turn our attention back to this match here, you'll see an update there on our scoreboard. Chad Harney, Rick Delver up a game there over Aaron Barich playing Infect. Had a feeling that would be the result because it's just a pretty tough matchup there for Barich, man.
Oh, I agree. Like we talked about earlier, I like to call them hyper-interactive decks, but they're just decks that all they want to do is interact with your opponent's either creatures, hand, land, graveyard, whatever, and they have a proactive game plan with a few disruptive threats, maybe a Delver of Secrets, a Gurmag Angler, a Young Pyromancer, something like that. They just want to stick a threat onto the battlefield and then use all the rest of their cards to keep you from doing much of anything. They want to use removal spells on your creatures, and they want to use Wasteland to keep you off of anything relevant. It's just a little too much for Infect to handle most of the time.
We got another update here for you in Gregory Stiver. Wins game number 1 over Joe Stempo. That means Hollow One is up a game here over Avengevine.
Yeah, we see Hollow One winning a lot of times in matchups where we don't think they're necessarily favored. That's just the strength of the deck. Sometimes you play a turn 1 Faithless Looting Cycle Street Wraith and put 8 to 16 power on the battlefield with a bunch of stuff in their graveyard that's good. It's tough. Deck's just great.
Fountain mulligan to 4 last game. Let's see if he can keep more than that. It doesn't have to be 7. Obviously, he'd like to keep 7.
We'll once you mulligan to 4, you always hate mulliganing again. But you never want to keep like a 1 or 2 lander usually in the Esper control deck. You're usually looking for 3 lands, and 4 is okay too.
Looks like John Philip Whetstone will be the one taking a mulligan this go around.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty relevant mulligan. Mostly because, there's a good chance he still has things like Lightning Strike and Shock in his deck, just because they can go to the Dome, and they help fuel Get to Lava Runner. But every card that you cast to your opponent's face is technically -1 card, so every mulligan hurts.
Well, John Philip Whetstone will do a little bit of shuffling up here. We'll be taking a look at 6 cards in just a moment. We'll be taking a look at the StarCityGames.com newsletter one last time this weekend. It's your source for Magic the Gathering news. It has highlights of some of our very best articles. If you read last week's newsletter, you saw highlights from Kai Bude, John Finkel, and Brian Gottlieb's fantastic pieces. We got upcoming SCG Tour dates and locations like SCG Baltimore next weekend. Possibility Storm Puzzle Solutions. You'll find those every Monday on StarCityGames.com on the select side of the website. SCG, IQs, and game nights near you as well. Best of all, it's free to sign up for. Go to StarCityGames.com/newsletter for more information. Sign up today for free. See if John Philip Whetstone will be in our newsletter this week as the winner of this tournament. We do, of course, do have a winner section. Looks like he's going to keep his 6 cards. We're underway here. Irrigated Farmland is where Nathan Fountain will start.
Yeah, one of the best parts about this mono red aggro deck is that it can function pretty well on 6 cards because it doesn't need an abundance of lands. Whereas something like the Esper control deck, if you mulligan too much, you need to hit land drops. You need to have the right spells at the right times. We saw him get stuck with like 2 copies of Torrential Gearhulk last game and only 4 mana. And that's because he started on so many few cards with the mulligan to 4.
Get to Lava Runner is where Philip Whetstone started things off. He's going to come in here for 1 point of damage. That'll work. Here's a Shock. Here's another Shock. So Shock, not a great card in this matchup, but at the same time, you do want your Lava Runner to actually be a card.
Yeah.
So that's why he probably left him in. Also, Todd, you were suggesting that sideboarding didn't even seem to be particularly necessary here for John Philip Whetstone. He's already got a pretty good setup.
Yeah, I mean, his deck does one thing, and it does it well. It goes to the face, and it plays a lot of cards that benefit going to the face. You know, we see that pretty prevalently by a double Shock on turn 2, as opposed to playing like another creature or something. There's
a carry Zev. Essence Scatter is going to take care of that. So a little bit of an exchange of resources there between the 2 players. We head back over to Nathan Fountain. He's got a battlefield clear in his 4th turn of the game, and he's played a 4th land past the turn back. That's kind of a sweet spot here for decks like this, because this allows for something like a Glimmer or Vraska's Contempt. We're actually going to see a Field of Ruin activation here. Going to go after the Dragon Skull Summit. Fountain is going to search a land out of his deck. Same with Whetstone.
Yeah, this is not a great spot for Whetstone. He had the early 1-drop, which you need, but he spent his turn 2 playing 2 copies of Shock to deal an extra point damage to the Lava Runner. Now he doesn't have a creature on 3 due to Essence Scatter and nothing on 4. Esper Control's got to be feeling good here. 14 life against no battlefield from John Philip Whetstone.
I'd be feeling pretty good right now if I was Nathan Fountain. That's for sure. And now we're going to head back over to Nathan. He'll draw a card here. He'll just simply pass the turn back. So no 5th land as we head back over to Whetstone. Whetstone will play him out, and he'll just pass the turn back.
Looks like he has one of his sideboard cards in Infernal Reckoning. A great answer to the likes of Bomat Courier, but especially Scrap Heap Scrounger due to the exiling effect. Infernal Reckoning is a card that a lot of people were tweeting about this weekend as a sideboard card for these blue-black/Esper control decks. And I got to say, I've liked it so far.
Yeah, it's not bad. Clean answer to Scrounger, clean answer to Bomat Courier, clean answer to Heart of Kirin. Interesting little card, that Infernal Reckoning. Definitely helping to further solidify black-blue mid-range Esper and these black-based decks here in Standard.
Yeah, I'm not really loving John Philip Whetstone's spy here. Nathan looks like his hand is wrapped up. Vraska's Contempt, Gearhulk, Disallow, Infernal Reckoning, and something like Fatal Push. This is just bad news for him.
Well, the power level of John Philip Whetstone's deck is not particularly high, as you see a card like Guillotine Lava Runner on the battlefield here. There's a Fatal Push. And now Bomat Courier might get killed as well. We'll find out in just a moment. Let's see what this is. This will be a Wizard's Lightning on the cheap, given that there is a Wizard on the battlefield. But the goal of John Philip Whetstone's deck is, hey, I play way less lands than you do, and I can kill you quicker, as there's an Infernal Reckoning. We're going to fire off a Lightning Strike here.
Yeah, he's got no cards in hand. Nathan's down to 8, but 8 is a pretty uphill battle here.
And now John Philip Whetstone actually wants to sacrifice the Bomat Courier.
Yeah, he still exiles the card. There was nothing under it when he cracked, but he also had no cards in hand. But he kept the Infernal Reckoning from gaining any life.
Also has that's an additional creature in the graveyard there for Scrap Heap Scrounger. So it's some small stuff, but stuff they may add up, as there's a Torrential Gearhulk. Well, it might not add up anymore because this one might be over real soon here.
Yeah, whenever the control player starts casting Torrential Gearhulk for no value, that means they're just going for the Domski, and they're trying to end the game quickly. And at 8 life, with a mono-red player with very few resources in hand, and getting to untap with a handful of counter magic and more removal, it's over.
Yeah, I like the play there from Nathan Fountain. Could have just sat there and waited on his Gearhulk to be able to cast Infernal Reckoning or Fatal Push, but says, you know what, forget all that nonsense. I'm trying to get this game over with. Here's a Glimmer of Genius. This will further solidify his advantage. Scry 2 first, of course, and then draw 2. The energy aspect of things probably won't work itself into the equation all that much, but there is Jacob Ball's energy token. 2 counters will be placed onto it. And now the 2 cards have been drawn there by Nathan Fountain. So we head back over to Nathan now, who will untap those lands in that Gearhulk, play an irrigated farmland, attack with that Gearhulk, bring Whetstone down to 10. It's a 2-turn clock from the big artifact creature from Kaladesh.
Yeah, it's mostly elementary at this point. With so many resources at his disposal as well as answers in hand, I don't think that Whetstone has a way out, but it's always interesting to watch. The control decks sometimes just run out of stuff to do.
You got to start somewhere. Non-crop Crasher isn't the worst place to start. 3 mana, 3/2 with haste can exert sometimes. Not this time, though.
The key here is that Nathan Fountain can actually deal with this on-crop Crasher while still holding up Disallow. A lot of times you can invalidate counterspells by playing multiple spells in the same turn, but we've reached the point in the game where the control deck is very comfortable no matter what happens.
And there's a Vraska's Contempt to take care of the on-crop Crasher. Exile that creature. More importantly, gain a little bit of life. Gearhulk will come in for 5 more. It only takes 1 more swing from that big Gearhulk to get this game over with. So Whetstone going to have to work on chump blocking and start things off with the Soulscar Mage. That will resolve. Nathan Fountain does have a copy of Forsake the Worldly in hand. He's also got another copy of Torrential Gearhulk. And if the first one wasn't good, the second one almost certainly is. That is going to allow him to play a Fatal Push. Fatal Push will take care of the Soulscar Mage. And I think we'll be done here in just a moment there, Todd.
Yeah, he could have something like 2 burn spells to shrink the Gearhulks, and he'll end up going to 1 on the following attack, but honestly, it's just not enough.
Well, if you're shrinking Gearhulks, that means that damage is not going to the face.
Right, and with Nathan at 10 life, 2 lightning strikes, just not enough. Whetstone dealt or had the potential to deal a lot of damage this game. If not for that single Vraska's Contempt, he actually almost had lethal.
Yeah. John was getting pretty close. What this shows me is that this deck has so much burn. There's Goblin Chain Whirler. Disallow will do exactly that. And now Nathan Fountain will untap. John Philip Whetstone says, just kill me already. He will, and we are all set here. So Nathan Fountain going to tie things up here against John Philip Whetstone. Mono Red Aggro and Esper Control getting ready for a 3rd and final one here. Scoreboard still looks the same right now. Chad Harney up a game over Aaron Barich. And then you've got Gregory Stiver up a game here over Joe Stempo. If we do have updates, we'll, of course, let you know. And we can also let you know that Brian Brasocco, Humans pilot for the team of Jonathan Job, David Thomas, and Brian Brasocco, Humans player, has won his match. So as we get more updates from our other matches, we will, of course, let you know. But currently, that's the only one we do have. So this quarterfinal is a little slow thus far.
Yeah, it's interesting to note, when you lose to a Torrential Gearhulk out of a control deck, there's always going to be that desire and that fear to bring in a Braid out of the sideboard of these mono red decks, and I don't think that that's something you want to do. Yes, Torrential Gearhulk was the card that physically killed you, but it's not the card that won them the game. The cards that won them the game were the early removal spells, and you just kind of stumbling on turns 3 and 4. So I think that Whetstone needs to stick to his guns, not make any changes, and just hope to have a better draw while he's on the play in Game 3.
Well, I would not change too much if I'm John in this situation either. I'd say, you know what, I lost that game, but I'm on the play for game number 3. That's right where my deck wants to be. Hopefully I end up having a pretty good hand. My opponent maybe stumbles a little bit or takes a mulligan like they did in the first game. It'll be easy breezy and give my team the lead. We'll find out if that'll be the case here in just a moment. But first, a couple of words from our friends at Ultimate Guard. Go to StarCityGames.com/UltimateGuard to pick up your Chromia Skin Sidewinder, Chromia Skin Playmats, Map Pod Super Hives, and everything else under that Ultimate Guard catalog.
Man, you sure seem to know a lot about Ultimate Guard.
That is weird. I tell you, I don't know how one could know so much.
It's like they pay you to do this.
It's weird how one can know so much about a product and a brand. I'll tell you.
I will say it's pretty cool that you not only that you work for Star City, you work for Ultimate Guard, and Ultimate Guard is a sponsor for Star City Games, and Star City Games sells Ultimate Guard products on the website. It's like a symbiotic relationship.
It's crazy.
It's great.
It's crazy.
2 great companies working together.
Peanut butter and
with
jelly.
1 shill in the middle.
That's right. Thanks. Thanks, man. Thanks. Thank you so much. Just happy to help both brands. And get no sleep while doing it.
Well, you know what? Don't need sleep.
No sleep till Brooklyn. You know that Bare Naked Lady song, Who Needs Sleep?
No.
Well, you're never going to get it. Who needs sleep? Tell me, what's that for? Who needs sleep? Well, you're never going to get it. There's something
I'm about to reach over and hit the mute button on Cedric's microphone.
Why? You don't like Bare Naked Ladies? It's Brand.
There
he is. There he is.
That's literally the only song I know by them.
B&L's great. Yeah, we got a lot of work. We got to get you a copy of Stunt, which was like the best album in like 1994.
Tight.
And then there was another one. Brian Regan's album, Comedian, and Mighty Mighty Boss Stones.
You know I have Spotify, right? I could just listen to this if I wanted
but
to.
You haven't been. And that's part of the problem.
That is my choice.
That's part of the problem. It's a bad choice. It's part of the problem. We can fix you.
You know, there are a lot of areas in my life that need fixing, and I don't think my musical taste is one of them.
It's Brand.
All right, we got Nathan Fountain. You know, he's friends with Aaron Barich. I have a sneaking suspicion he is from Louisiana, and I would not be surprised if his last name was actually Fontaine.
Interesting.
Just throwing that out there. I'm curious. I don't want to interrupt their match to ask. I might ask him between rounds here. Fontaine. Those Bayou boys, they got some weird pronunciations thanks to the French background.
Did you know in Louisiana they have parishes?
What is a parish?
So you know like champion of the parish?
Yeah.
They have parishes.
Isn't that just a church?
No, it's like a different word for a town. Like Tannen Grace was telling me this today because they call Brian Basacco champion of the parish because he's from Louisiana and their towns are like called parishes.
That is interesting, useless information.
You're welcome. First of all, I like that we're casting Gates Lava Runner right into the graveyard. Love that.
Just got a threat.
Love that. That's one of my favorite moves. Just cast your creature right into the bin.
We've been told that Fountain is actually from Mississippi, and we're pretty sure it's Fountain.
Fontaine. Ragavan. Let's go.
Yeah, get that monkey up in there.
Is that a noise of a monkey making? What was that?
I don't know, man.
What
You
was that
ever
noise
watch
that came out of
Aladdin?
your body? Yes?
Yeah, Abu makes some weird noises.
Ah, okay. Here's an L strike.
Yeah, that's going to the Domsky. We ain't got no targets other than the face for that one. It's possible Nathan wants to counter this, but he would be better served using some removal spells on the creatures. There's a lot of damage starting to rack up from Ragavan, Carry Zev, and Bomat Courier. And there's a good chance that next turn we're going to see something like Hazaret or Chandra, Torch of Defiance come down.
Removal spell. Bye-bye, Bobo. Bye-bye, Bobo. Cast down.
Cast down, eh?
Brad Nelson, big fan of cast down. That's not true at all. It's not true at all.
I've seen him play a couple here and there in the black-blue mid-range deck.
Whoosh, 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 whoosh.
Yeah. I wish I could make the sound of the Chain Whirler.
Nathan is down to 7. John Philip Whetstone, the aggressor here. Nathan is trying to stabilize and then turn the corner quickly. We got to see that in game number 2. Certainly not in game number 1. Now here's a fatal push going after Carry Zev.
Yeah, but this Chain Whirler looks like it's going to get in there. Obviously, the Esper Control deck has a counterspell in hand with that Disallow, but he has to find a way to deal with this Chain Whirler.
I think he may have picked up a copy of Wrath's Intent to Nathan Fountain.
That's a nice one,
Wizard's
but is it enough?
You're down to 1. I think
is it enough?
You got to contempt now.
Even if you contempt now, you just died a Wizard's Lightning.
John Philip Whetstone going to win this match here over Nathan Fountain. 2-1. And that means the team of Harney, Stempo, and Whetstone, they are up a match, as that's a difficult matchup there for Esper Control. Esper Control can probably beat red-black aggro. It's a little bit slower, but all these burn spells, that's difficult for Nathan to beat. And that's why JPW gets the W. And now we're going to head over to Modern, see what's going on with this Vengevine and Hollow One stuff. Well, maybe not. Looks like Joe Stempo and Gregory Stiver just shook hands. That leads me to believe that Gregory Stiver won. So maybe we jump to Legacy because that's all that's left? Maybe that's our big grand plan?
I bet we're going to switch, and it's going to be the handshake.
That's the dream. That's the dream. That means a beating happened.
Yeah, but I want to see said beating. Although I hate watching Infect get beat up.
Stiver confirmed 2-0 winner over Joe Stempo. Hollow One took care of Avenge Vines aplenty. And now we don't even get to move. There you go. There you go.
Oh.
Just how we drew it up there.
1-0 on the prediction chart. Just want to
Perfect.
point that one out. Let's
Harney,
figure out the rest.
Stempo, Whetstone.